7 days before the end of the report period, the Lunar Receiving Laboratory was opened. The newest facility at MSC contains 83,000 square feet. It is divided into 3 areas. There is a crew reception area for isolation and study of the Apollo crew immediately after the mission. It supplies necessary housekeeping facilities, living quarters, and medical facilities for crew examination. Sample operations provides for preliminary investigation of lunar samples, including physical chemical tests, gas analysis, and radiation counting. Both these areas are in quarantine isolation. The third area, support and administration, is outside of isolation. It supplies conference rooms, office space, and support activities such as biological support laboratories. Quarantine actually begins far from this laboratory. It begins when the crew leaves the moon surface with 40 to 50 pounds of lunar samples vacuum sealed in a special container. It continues unbroken by means of a mobile quarantine laboratory, which the crew and samples will enter on shipboard direct from their returning spacecraft. The sealed spacecraft will also be brought to the Lunar Receiving Lab and housed in this room, which is normally opened to the outside. If the spacecraft must be entered for any reason, the outside doors will be sealed and the room will become part of the crew reception area. Lunar samples must be protected against Earth contamination, and the crew will be observed by doctors for the remote possibility of lunar contamination. Quarantine period for crew, 3 weeks. For samples, 4 weeks. Quarantine continues at the Lunar Receiving Lab by means of primary and backup systems of containment. A biological barrier is provided by special filters on air conditioning systems and by airlocks irradiated with ultraviolet light, by special sealing of floors and walls, and by sample cabinets, and by other means. 50 feet below the ground is a radiation laboratory, part of the sample operations area. As soon as possible, a radiation count will be made of the samples to assure us that very short-lived isotopes are identified and not lost. The laboratory is put underground to shield out cosmic radiation. Extreme care is taken to obtain a true count of activity of the samples. For example, radon, a radioactive gas, is present in the atmosphere in minute quantities. It will be filtered out by the air conditioning system. Walls of the counting room are 8 feet thick, 5 feet cement, 3 feet dunite. Dunite is a natural mineral rock which is an effective radiation barrier. Using it, we avoid the cost and weight penalties of lead shielding. The biological support laboratories in the support and administration complex are raising plants and animals to be used in tests of different media for possible lunar viruses. Cultures will be prepared in the support laboratories, sterilized, and sent within the quarantine barrier of sample operations for testing. In studying these cultures, the electron microscope gives us the possibility of direct visualization of virus material. Preliminary analyses will also be made to classify and catalog the samples at the laboratory and to identify the elements present. As soon as possible, the samples will be distributed to scientists for study in their own laboratories. Distinguished scientists will concentrate in their specialty areas. studies will continue for years. Participating will be scientists from countries all over the free world. They will share with us an experience unique in man's history, first-hand study of the composition of the moon.